In the heart of the American South, during the mid-1800s, there was a small plantation owned by the Whitmore family. Sarah, the matriarch of the household, had just given birth to her third child, but due to complications, she was unable to nurse her infant. To solve this problem, they turned to one of their slaves, a woman named Hester. Hester was a strong, resilient woman with skin the color of rich mahogany and eyes that held a quiet wisdom. She had lost her own child a few months earlier, and the pain still lingered in her heart. Despite her grief, she was tasked with acting as a wet nurse for the Whitmore newborn. Hester's days were filled with the cries and needs of the baby. She would hold the small, fragile body close to her own, feeding and comforting him as if he were her own. Though she was not his mother by blood, a special bond began to form between them. Late at night, when the household was quiet and the weight of the day's work pressed heavy on her, Hester would sing lullabies to the child in a soft, melodic voice that carried the pain and hope of her people. As the months passed, the child, named William, grew stronger and healthier. Sarah, though initially grateful, began to grow uneasy with how attached William had become to Hester. She feared that the bond they shared might undermine her own relationship with her son. One evening, as Hester was putting William to bed, Sarah approached her. "I think it's time for William to wean," Sarah said, her voice tight. "He needs to grow accustomed to his family. We appreciate all that you've done, Hester, truly." Hester looked down at William, his tiny hand clutching her finger, and felt a pang of sorrow. She knew this moment would come, but it did not make it any easier. "Yes, ma'am," Hester replied quietly. The next morning, another slave was assigned to watch over William, and Hester returned to the fields. Her arms felt empty without the child she had come to care for so deeply. The days grew longer and the work more arduous. Years later, when William was a young boy, he would often wander down to the fields. He would find Hester, now older and wearier, but her eyes still held that same quiet wisdom. "Do you remember me, Hester?" he asked one day, his voice filled with curiosity. Hester wiped the sweat from her brow and looked at him, a small smile playing on her lips. "I remember," she said softly. "I remember you well, Master William." Though the years had created a chasm between their worlds, the bond they had formed in those early months remained a quiet, unspoken truth between them. In a time and place where such connections were rare and often discouraged, their shared moments of tenderness stood as a testament to the resilience of the human heart.